Sure.
William Culver.
Here.
Bill Giffens.
Here.
Julie Monroe.
Here.
Salvador Charney.
Here.
Rich West.
Here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have approval of the August 25th work session, the September 16th executive session, the September 16th special meeting, and the September 23rd executive meeting, and the September 23rd regular meeting as well.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, first on the agenda, we have second and third reading for ordinance 2020-009, which is the 2021 annual budget. We've passed on first read. Is there any discussion, questions, or comments for Karen since the last round? Honor a motion to pass on second read. So we'll say Bill Giffens, and was that Bill Clevenger?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Anyone like to suspend the rules of second read and pass on third read tonight?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, great. Next, we have a public hearing for two different ordinances. This is the golf cart and the use of animal drawn carriage ordinance. These read very similarly. I'd like to take a motion to open the public hearing, please.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I'm assuming if you are here to participate in the public hearing, please sign in so that we have proof of the public hearing for tonight. All right. Do you want to go through the draft or?
I think you read it last time. Do you want to go through the whole thing again or changes since the last meeting? Which would you prefer?
Yeah.
Or do you want?
Yeah, I know we're going to make a few amendments before we actually passed our first read, and then wanted to also have the hearing, of course. And I know most of the people who are probably here tonight are here to comment on the public hearing. So I'm going to go through and read the changes for the golf cart ordinance that are all in red font on our ordinance. And then if it differs from the horse-drawn carriage ordinance, we will let you know, or Jonathan jump in for me. So this is an ordinance amending and restating ordinance 2018-017 and 2007-009, regulating the use of golf carts within the corporate limits of the town of Culver. The first section that would be amended is section 2 of the ordinance. This reads, to operate a golf cart in any street, alley, or road within the limits of the town of Culver, a driver of such a golf cart must be at least 16 years of age and 180 days of age, and hold either an identification card issued under Indiana Code 92416 or photo exempt identification card issued under Indiana Code 92416.5. So we basically added the state statutory regulative language to this of being 16 and 180 days of age. The next section affected is the very next paragraph under section 2. We've added the language Indiana Code restricting the use of a telecommunications device while operating a moving motor vehicle shall apply to the operation of a golf cart and will be subject to the same restrictions as under Indiana Code 921-859. So we've added that to the golf cart and horse-drawn carriage ordinance. because that Indiana code has changed. The next section affected is section 3. There are some minor tweaks to this where we've added the terminology public streets, and also the terminology must be provided to town staff during registration. I'll read the whole paragraph. All golf carts must have insurance for use on public streets on said golf cart and have proof of such insurance in the golf cart at all times during the operation of said golf cart in the town of Culver, and must be provided to the town staff during registration of the golf cart. Section 4, we've added that Indiana code requires that all slow-moving vehicles, including golf carts, must display a red or amber flashing light at times when headlamps are necessary for other motor vehicles, which light must be visible from no less than 500 feet from the rear of the golf cart or vehicle. In addition, said golf carts must be equipped with both headlights and taillights that are in working order if operated at times when headlamps are necessary for other vehicles. In addition, all golf carts must be equipped with a rear view mirror that is operational. I know this came up at our last meeting. This is Indiana code. We talked about the fact that most golf carts don't have the red flashing or amber light. Rich, did you want to
No, just,
comment?
I think the lavalier mic is getting the feedback.
The other one?
Okay.
No, the one on the next.
So maybe turn off the microphone one. Okay, so I'm gonna go on before we come back to that one if we need to. Give Jonathan a minute here. Okay, the next section is section 7. Any person who wishes to operate a golf cart in the town of Culver must register the same with the Culver Police Department and pay a registration fee of, it currently reads $80 on an annual basis, and have attached to said golf cart a sticker provided by said town noting said vehicle has been properly registered with the town. Registrants who apply for a golf cart permit after September 15 each year will pay a registration fee of $40. A copy of the town registration form must be kept in the vehicle when operated on public streets. The required registration sticker, along with an approved traffic safety slow-moving vehicle sign, must be visibly mounted to the rear of the vehicle, and the registration sticker must remain visible at all times during operation of the vehicle. Next affected paragraph is section 8. While in operation, such golf carts must carry no more passengers than such golf carts are equipped to handle, and all passengers must be seated at all times. Children under 36 inches in height are not to be passengers on golf carts on public streets, alleys, or roads in the town of Culver. Under no circumstances should a child under the age of 16 years and 180 days old be allowed to operate a golf cart in the town of Culver, and adult passengers or drivers are not to hold children on their lap while the vehicle is in operation. Section 9 has stayed the same, as well as section 10. Section 11 has changes. I'll read the whole thing for that too. Anyone violating any of the provisions of this ordinance shall be subject to a fee of $150 per violation. If a person is cited for a violation of the ordinance more than 3 times, the registration shall be revoked for that individual and or golf cart, and said individual and or golf cart shall no longer be allowed to operate in the limits of the town of Culver under the ordinance at the discretion of the Culver Police Department. So those are all affected changes. Anything in horse-drawn that would be any different?
The only difference off the top of my head was about the headlight versus flashing light. So there's no headlight or taillight requirement on an animal-drawn vehicle, just the flashing amber light that's in the state code.
Okay. So as part of the public hearing, we should open it to the public and allow comments, and then we'll have discussion on the council after closing the public hearing. So if you want to comment on any of the changes, could you just raise your hand for us and make sure you say your name when you comment so that Karen Heim can put this in the minutes. We'll start with Russ.
As I mentioned at the last meeting, I don't see any justification for an $80 fee. A fee has to be representative of some real cost that the town has to administer a program. It's not a tax, it's a fee. And I mentioned that you have administrative fees in our utility bills that represent administering the waste program or the hydrant program. And those are reasonable for what they are, what's involved. The $80 is a horrendous amount of money, and I can't imagine that it takes that kind of money to administer this particular activity. This could set a precedent. I mean, next year you could say, well, we're going to charge $20 a month for administering the utility or the waste management program. And what's to stop that if you can just arbitrarily have any amount you want? Now, if you can prove to me that it takes $80 per permit to administer this program, then I don't have an argument. But I do not believe that that's the case. And I want to point a question to Jim, our attorney. You know, can fees just be whatever people want them to be within a municipality? They have to represent something.
Well, to some extent, yes. I mean, you may not think that's the case, but, you know, there's permits and the application process and administering it, and, you know, I would think it would be, you know, if it were $800, that might be a difference, but what is it now, $40? And it's been that way for however long period of time. And is that too high? You know, I guess that's just a question of what's reasonable, and I think the council has some discretion in making that determination. Have they done a study? I don't know, but I don't know that you have to.
So it'd be okay for them next year to charge $20 for the waste management administration?
Well, if it was determined that there was, you know, a reasonable basis for that.
Well, I'm saying that too. I said, if they could demonstrate to me that it costs $80 per permit to administer the program, then I have no argument. I'm done.
Okay, thank you, Russ. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Jessica Ringer. I'm Jessica Ringer. My husband and I just started a business here locally, small business, while trying to get it started. Of course, we're still working our full-time jobs and trying to make ends meet. So obviously this plays a significant role in our business. And not sure which way to start with this, but we both went to school here in town for all of our years. Grew up in Myersford, so I was bused in an hour away every day. Obviously, our income is much different, especially growing up, than a majority of the people in this town nowadays. I understand there are people who have nicer, fancier, big, luxurious golf carts, but there are also quite a few people who don't and depend on these golf carts for their daily transportation because they may not be able to use another form of transportation around this town. I also know, based on many comments that have been made to me at our shop, we have at least 2 outsiders that I know of that come into our town just to rent golf carts because we offer an hourly rate for a very low fee so that they may take their handicapped children for a drive around our beautiful town. They stop at other businesses and buy ice cream or some coffee. Then they've seen local events that are available by posters or flyers, and then they come back again to patronize our town even more because of being able to just do this one little function that really seems to bring a lot of joy to their child's life. We do the same. We purchased a handicap golf cart just because there's a few people, there's not very many. It's an expensive purchase on our end, but we want everybody to be able to have the access to enjoy our town through means of being able to take a nice slow ride around. It seems very nice to be able to wave at each other in an open, airy cart like that. It just seems to bring the town a little bit closer together as people, I feel personally, versus in a car. Some of the things that, as I look through this ordinance, that I do have questions on, and I'm hoping maybe we can look at today, going on Mr. Mason's, I don't understand why we would have an administration fee of a lower price at a different time frame if the administration fee is to cover administrative processes for getting the sticker out. So I guess I'm a little confused, like he was saying, where this money is going, if it shouldn't cost any more to assign a ticket later in the year than it would at the beginning of the year. So that brings me back to, are we really covering the cost of administering these stickers? Or is this just because we need some more money for the town? Because, as was mentioned earlier, going in the general fund, maybe for the walkways or other improvements that we want to do around town, which is, that's fine if some of these improvements were going towards something that actually benefited the people who are paying for these fees for their golf carts. And if we want to improve the bicycle paths, we could offer a registration fee for bicycles too then. And I don't know that the town wants to get to those kinds of fees and that kind of process of doing all that organization. But it just seems to me, it doesn't make much sense why we would increase one fee, but do the same process later in the year and not cost, and then that wouldn't cost the same amount. Obviously for us, because we do register a lot of golf carts for the town, and our insurance is extremely expensive because we're registering rentals that are on roads with other vehicles, so our insurance is very expensive already. When you start adding more and more fees to just for stickering and registration, that will unfortunately have to be passed on to our customers, and then we'll eliminate some of the people who could normally come in to try to enjoy our town who don't normally have the funds to pay for those. I am a little also confused on the height requirement. I understand that we don't want small children falling off carts or that. I don't know if there's an option. Many of our carts have seat belts on them. I don't know if the reason for the height constraint is to restrain the child, or if there was another safety test that has been done saying that children of a certain age get harmed easier on a golf cart. I didn't know if there was any kind of clause where if they were in a seatbelt restraint, if that would then change that requirement. A lot of the people who come into town do have smaller children, including one of the children who is a handicapped child, which the mother has many times explained to me how much different her child's demeanor is once they're able to come just take a quick ride on the golf cart for just a couple hours. Another one of the things that wasn't real clear to me in the ordinance, the stickers are to be visible at all times. I didn't know if there was a placement that was required, if it has to be on the back of the golf cart, or it could be on the front of the golf cart. That will save some people some money on having to buy additional ways to actually adhere the sign, the sticker to the cart. As well as the slow moving vehicle sign. I understand that many of the carts, including some of our own, because we did not consider it before this, we'll have to have the signs moved to a different location on a cart, which will add additional expense to all the people who have to have their signs moved now, as well as the expense of adding the flashing lights on the carts. So of all years, when everybody's taking a pretty big hit, it really saddens me that we choose to increase the prices this year and also increase all the requirements that are now going to be added to all these golf carts. On one side, I know that I'm a business person, and more than likely most of these carts will hopefully come to our business to get upgraded, but that's still a large fee on our customers to have these lights added, to have special bars added to hold the signage in the proper position. So they're already going to have that increase coming up next spring. I really hate to see that we're also going to increase the fees of the stickers. And then I had another customer who came in. Unfortunately, a lot of our customers are stopped by because they're not available on a weekday or they're already out of town for the season. But I know I have another customer who was questioning on the IDs that are required to be carried with them as they're driving a golf cart, because we do have quite a few people who come in from out from other states. It does say something about an Indiana state ID. They want to make sure their state ID will be fine, or also an ID of a person from outside of the United States. I think that's covers the majority of the.
Jessica, I have a quick question. As a business owner, so do you have a sticker and registration for all the carts? Or does that happen after one's been sold? Or is it because they get test driven ahead of time? How does it work?
We have a sticker and registration for every cart that we use as a rental. On carts that are being sold, it obviously depends on the day they're being sold. So we tell the people that we have, I literally give them a copy right from the Culver County website of how they can apply for the sticker, and explain to them that unfortunately it's closed during the weekends. So, and then we also explain to them how this is not just your standard insurance for a golf cart. It has to be, you have to make sure your insurance actually shows that it's for use on public ways. So that way they.
Okay. And not to put you on the spot or anything, but we had talked at our first meeting about potentially doing a volume discount for, say, a business owner or somebody who has multiple carts in use. How many are you have on site for rental purposes?
This year being a lot different, we have a little under, under 20.
Okay.
We're hoping to build that because on busy weekends, we don't have near enough.
Yeah, and in a non-COVID year, it might be a totally different number. Okay, all right, thank you. I see another hand behind Jessica at one point. Anyone else for public input? Terry?
Yeah, Terry Wakefield, 33 West Madison. I was at the last time you raised the price of the golf cart things, and I thought it was a little ridiculous. You can register a car that's 10 years old for $55, and you use it year-round. On a golf cart here, you may get 7 months. I just don't understand the fee. I don't know where's the money going that you're going to use for that. There's no way that a sticker and a piece of paper costs $80. There's no way. That's my opinion.
Okay, thanks, Terry. Anyone else for public input? Yes, sir?
Hey, Terry Cheseldine, 520 South Plymouth. Echoing everybody else's opinion on the fee increase. I just feel percentage-wise, as I mentioned last time, it's instead of $100, which was a consideration last meeting, we're now looking at $80, which represents a 100% increase from the 40. So percentage-wise, it's a significant impact. And only a few years ago, it was $25. And from 25 to 80 in a matter of 4 or 5 years, it's gone up 225%. So if you look at it from a percentage basis, I think a fee of this type, that's a pretty significant and unusual hike in percentage. So I would think that a percentage of 25% or so would be a reasonable increase from one year to another. You said last time that you had 480 golf carts approximately registered every year, or this year. That represents an income at $80 of almost $40,000 a year. So you're going from $20,000 at $40 to almost $40,000 at $80. So for that amount of increase, I'm hoping there is a substantial program earmarked for that funding, because that's a decent amount of money. And we have not really heard what the justification or what the purpose for the increase is. Again, another issue is that we're having this public hearing when many seasonal people are away and they can't represent themselves as easily as we can. Also, do we make a consideration for handicapped individuals who use their golf carts? Are they expected to pay the same amount? I don't know what the
Yeah, nothing in the ordinance says otherwise, Gary.
so handicapped are paying the same amount. So as Terry said, the season's only about 7 months long, and many people aren't even here that long. So when you look at an $80 a year, it's really more like $80 for 5 months or so. Just to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Sir, I think you wanted to say something too.
Paul Lee at 309 Lake Shore Drive. You mentioned in the last meeting that the part of the justification for the increase of the fees was to go for repairs of bicycle paths and so forth, which the golf carts can't even use. So why would you single out the golf carts to help pay for bicycle paths when maybe it should be something that the whole community participates in?
Thank you. Anybody else for public input? Okay. Thank you. Motion to close the public hearing. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yes. Is there anyone online who would like to comment in the public hearing? And people are not muted, I assume?
I didn't mute them. If they muted,
Okay.
they muted themselves. So.
Okay, last call for anyone online who might want to comment on the public hearing for the golf cart ordinance.
This is Tom Uhas.
Yes, Tom, go ahead.
I had submitted an email to everyone this afternoon. You folks didn't get it, or I thought it would be read during the public hearing.
Tom, I've been traveling today down from Michigan, so I haven't seen it. Has anyone here got a copy of it by chance?
Here you go.
We'll have Bill Giffens read it if that's okay with you. Go ahead, Bill.
To Jenny Monroe and on the council members, to the members of the Culver Town Council, I would like to give my public input regarding the proposed fee increase for a golf cart registration. I question the need to increase the fee. The reasons I heard were to maintain the walking/bike trails and to cover the administrative costs. Why would golf cart fees be used for maintenance of pathways that do not allow golf cart usage? The upkeep of the trails need to come from other sources. The original purpose of the $100 registration would generate $48,700 for the number of current registered carts in the town of Culver. I cannot imagine that the cost of the stickers and the secretary's time cost over $45,000. I would suggest that you outsource the registration program and lower the fee to $35. This would generate $17,045 to pay for the process of golf cart registration. It was stated that the town secretary was spending time to track down information from applicants. The registration process should be as it is in dealing with the BMV. The applicant comes with all the proper documentation, or you go home with no sticker, just as the protocol of the state of Indiana BMV. Let's save the citizens some money rather than use the program as a revenue stream of endless bounds. The program should be revenue neutral, where the hard costs and administrative costs are paid for and nothing more. Respectfully submitted, Thomas E. Uhas, DDS/MS.
Thank you, Tom. Did you want to add anything to that, Tom?
No, I think the other members of the audience pretty much echoed the same concerns that I had. So I thought that was kind of interesting that everybody seems to have the same concerns, that we would just like to know, tell us, show us the numbers. How are we justifying it? Where did this idea even come from? That's, if those questions could be answered, I think it would make the public feel a lot better about what's going on. So anyway, that's what I had to say.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Anybody else online who wants to add to the public hearing? I'll take that as a, Wayne, did you want to be part of the public hearing or discussion?
Either one.
Okay, go ahead.
I understand the concern. I think the biggest argument is the cost. I don't care what you do with the cost. People need to understand, this golf cart ordinance. This is a courtesy that the town allows people to use it. We're unique. We've always been unique here. You go to the town of Argus, you don't have 488 golf carts registered. We deal with them and see them all the time. It's 3 hours to arrest somebody for a DUI on a golf cart, no different than driving a car. I mean, there is unforeseen costs, whether it should amount to this or not, that's your guys' decision. Not every golf carts aren't required to have seatbelts. I wish they had them. That was one of our biggest complaints. Why don't we make them wear seatbelts? Well, we can't. They're not equipped with them. Just like an old car. If they don't have seatbelts, you can't make them put them in because that's the manufacturer. Moving the signs and stuff, I really think that's an inexpensive thing for anybody. Mostly can do with these golf carts in the back. When you go get your license plate at the license branch, they don't tell you to slap it on the side of the car. But I've seen golf carts with them mounted as tags on the side of the car. They can't be viewed from the side of the car. It has to be viewed from the rear of the vehicle. Statute says you can't put them in the windows of the vehicle. People have. We've stopped them from doing that. I mean, people have to understand we have to have regulations, whether people like it or not. But there are reasons for a lot of things.
Yeah.
I mean,
Before we close the public hearing, I did want to respond to Tom and some of the people in the room. This came up during our budget session when we were still over at the library meeting. And I think Wayne was part of that conversation. We're just finding that people are not coming in with the information that we're requiring per this ordinance. So we spent all this time tracking it down. And yeah, maybe we should reject those people and say, go away. But the other side of it is the policing side of it. We're finding that people just are not obeying the ordinance. We ask that they read it before they take off from the office. They're required to keep the ordinance on the vehicle. We're finding that we're having to stop more of these, more so than we are vehicles. So it is a distraction for the police. And it means that we're sometimes not on a more serious type of call. If we're in the middle of stopping one of these, we have had DUIs on these like vehicles. So there is that side of it too that I don't think people see. And this discussion came up as part of our budget session, so I just wanted to let people know that. I think I saw a hand in the back.
Yeah, you said that, I'm Rod Ringer, you say that people aren't obeying the ordinance. Why are they not, why aren't people getting tickets all the time on here?
well, we're trying to be fair with people.
What's that?
We're trying to be fair with people with this stuff. But
Because I see kids going down the highway on golf carts all the time, and they're not supposed to be out there. Just the other day, I passed one.
what are they supposed to be on the highway?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
You see it all the way around the east side.
Well, I understand, but
It is
I know if my 10-year-old was out there and I was ticketed, I wouldn't do it again, and I wouldn't do it anyway, but these people, there's no repercussions for their kids to get on and run around home. And I really think if there were some tickets given out, I think people would respond a little more. But that's just my opinion.
First, there have been tickets given out. Secondly, that's the reason we raised that fee as well. That fee is in here at $150. We also used to, if you had a second violation, it was another fee, and a third, it was another. We just made it easy for the officers and put it at $150 for all. But if there's a repeat offender, that's why we've added the language about repeat offenders, so we can revoke a registration, because that is an issue with people, of course. And some people think that $150 fee is, well, fine with them because they don't mind if their 10-year-old gets caught and they get a $150 fee. Other people think $150 is a ton of money. For some of us, that would be okay, I won't let that happen again. But for others, it's not.
Cheaper than state statute too.
Right.
While we're on that section, is it 3 times in 1 year, or is it just 3 times over?
I don't think we say
We
if
didn't
it
set
has to be a year.
timeframe.
Yeah, it's just, I'll read it to you, Jim.
Well, I got it, I saw it.
Oh, okay.
Timeframe in it.
Yeah,
I was just curious as to if you wanted to.
say if it has to
You
be
just say
within a
3
year.
times, then I guess it's 3 times over the, you know.
And it does say at discretion of the Culver Police Department. So it could be 3 times over 3 years and they can have discretion on that. There is not a time limit on it. All right, so but we have to close the public hearing, but does anyone else want to be part of the public hearing? All right, a motion to close. Oh, sorry, Russ, go ahead.
I just want the record to show that the majority of the people in this audience that made comments weren't cutting up the ordinance. Everything you said in that ordinance is reasonable. It's the fee that we want you to demonstrate to us is necessary.
I think that's fair. Thank you, Russ. Motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Okay, that was Bill Clevenger and Bill Githens, Karen, I think. Okay. All right. So, well, I did have a question based on something that Jessica had said, but I think Wayne answered it, was the seatbelt restraint. If somebody did have a seatbelt restraint, we would still not approve a 36-inch height or smaller, correct? That, I think Jessica's question was, well, what if someone isn't 36 inches high, but they're in a seatbelt restraint on the golf cart? Would that be acceptable if we wrote that into the ordinance? We can't require the seatbelt, but if a golf cart had one and you had a child who was, say, 34 inches, would it be okay for them to be on the golf cart if they were restrained with seatbelt? Is that a question?
I have a comment on that. Seatbelts on golf carts are there for adults. And I think that you're really putting in jeopardy a child, even though he's in a seatbelt. He probably could go right underneath it.
And I think we came up with the 36-inch rule because, and related it to going to an amusement park for a ride. Amusement parks have a height restriction and it's usually 36 inches.
Well, I think,
be over that.
I think part of it too is, at one point, I think Bill had suggested 2 or 3 years old, but it's hard for a police officer to distinguish someone's age. You know,
Right.
a 4-year-old can look like a 2-year-old and vice versa. So that's where I think the height suggestion came into play. Sticker question came up and Wayne explained that. It's like any other vehicle, it needs to be placed on the back, which I think our ordinance says that. Okay, so we did talk about the fee at the last meeting, and I think at one point we moved to 80, which is what the draft currently says on the first read. Is the based on the public input, is council open to a lower fee, or do you have comments about justifying the $80?
May I ask a question?
Sure.
And this is something that, and I'm directing this also for Karen. Does this money go to the general fund?
It all goes in the general fund.
Okay, it goes to the general fund.
Which
All-
supports the first responders, EMS, fire, police, the clerk budget and street budget, just to get that
Okay.
background.
But that's also the same, the general fund's also the same fund that we fund the police department with, right?
That's what I just said, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems to me that because the police department have been contributed most of the changes, with the exception of the fees. Their enforcement duties are going to be going up. And I think that, you know, since they're funded by the general fund and this goes into the general fund, I find that this fee basically can be used out to offset part of the enforcement.
Okay, anyone else?
And I'm gonna go along with what Rod Ringer said. I mean, you know, you got somebody tooling around here, kids, and, you know, hit them with $150. You can catch it twice and, you know, I'm not gonna be doing it again.
Rich?
I want to address the fee issue, but from a slightly different perspective than I think what Jessica talked about. The town, I think rightly so, has gone out of its way to support local businesses and the local economy. We understand that the survival of our local businesses is important. We have gone to promoting tourism because that helps to support our local businesses. I think the golf cart business itself is something additional that supports tourism in town. I think knowing from previously when I was involved in some rental properties, people would have to go to the port or other places to rent a golf cart. And that's a consideration sometimes when you're renting a vacation home. So I think this is an attraction, and I hate to see us penalize a business that helps to contribute to the local economy, which keeps open the other businesses in town. And that's not only to promote tourism, but it also supports our local residents. So to have restaurants in town, to have other amenities in town are things that our residents can also appreciate. So I think I'm not opposed to lowering the $80 fee, but I think that if we do a significant increase on this fee, I do think we need to make an exception for businesses in town. And if we want to set a limit of, if we have over 15 carts or something like that, I think there should be a discounted rate. I think the numbers speak for themselves. Everybody has talked about multiples of if it's at $80 or $40. But I mean, with riggers, if they've got 20 golf carts there, the difference in that $40 is a significant amount of money to a small and upstart business. So that related to the fee. The second concern I have about it, and I understand we had a lot of discussion about the amber lights last time, being related to the state ordinance. And I understand why it's in there. The rest of the ordinance I completely support. I think that the police department has been extremely patient with what is going on and tolerant. But on the amber light, I wonder if, from the legal perspective, and this is, I guess, for our esteemed legal counsel, or at least Jim, whether, if the local ordinance is more, I don't want to say restrictive, but more proactive than the state ordinance, can we avoid the amber light? I mean, adding that cost to it adds no safety factor. If you have headlights, you have tail lights, you have brake lights, you have turn lights, you've got a rear view mirror. That has all the protections a faster moving vehicle would have. And to require people to put on the amber light, I guess I don't want to say if there's a way around it. And the other problem I see with it is if we include that in the ordinance, then how is Wayne staff going to enforce that? Or not going to enforce that part of it? Or are those people going to get cited for $150 because they don't have that amber light?
Well, this came up the last one, and I looked at it, and Indiana Code 92194 as to slow-moving vehicles requires the use of a red or amber flashing lights on slow-moving vehicles for when start. The statute that authorizes the town to adopt an ordinance related to golf carts is in Indiana Code 921-1-3.3. And that ordinance specifically provides that an ordinance adopted under this section may not conflict with another state law. So I think the revisions are correct that under Indiana law, and I took my copy down, that, you know, unfortunately, the red or amber flashing lights is a requirement for slow-moving vehicles. Slow-moving vehicles are defined as anything under 25 miles an hour.
So if we weren't enforcing that, a state officer still could enforce that within our town limits?
And I don't think that I mean, if you don't include it in your ordinance is going to be,
Not really legit.
it would be in conflict with another state law.
Okay. Sally?
Yeah, I don't have any problem with lowering the fee. And, you know, if the general consensus was that $40 didn't cover all the costs, and I think, you know, if we went up to $10, that might cover the cost. When it comes to whatever the state law is what the state law is. You can't exactly ignore that part.
Mm-hmm.
I would, and I don't know if there's a way of, you know, having like baby seats, seat belted in, and having, you know, smaller children in, like we do a car seat for kids. Because I know there's some people that have, you know, a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and a 2-year-old's not 36 inches. They can't very well leave their 2-year-old behind, which means that they can't use the wall.
So if they had a seat belt, you would be okay with
Or,
the,
you know, like take the car carrier and put it in a golf cart seat on the car carrier. And then put the kid's seat belt into the, you know, or into a child seat.
Wayne, is the bigger issue that people are carrying children on their lap and allowing children to drive their golf carts? Is that what we're seeing the most?
Both ways. I've seen kids that sit on the back of them, and just sitting there. The wrong move, wrong turn. My opinion, I don't think golf carts are safe, but that's my opinion. I'm just saying, if they're coming, we're gonna have a bad accident, and the golf cart's gonna lose. Because it's not a vehicle. And I understand the courtesy allowing them to do it, but you gotta have some kind of rules. I mean, I still say people, their concern is, I want the tag, throw it on, and they take off. And it's always been that way. They don't care what the rules are.
So what if we come down heavier on the ticket fee and enforcement and go with Sally's suggestion of $50 for the registration fee? But change that $150 ticket fee to something more significant.
The 150 is that an increase? Yeah. I think
Yeah,
it would
that's
be
an
fine if
increase
we
right
could
there.
get it.
Well, the way it is now, it depends, if it's a first, second, third violation. That's how it's written in the currently.
Currently, it's just flat 150, no matter if it's a first, second, or third.
It's less confusing for us,
Right.
the clerk's office.
Yeah, to keep that flat fee.
You don't have to keep up with that stuff.
Yeah,
I never liked those in any orders, never did another orders like that, staggering.
yeah. Well, I would be more comfortable with 50. I think I said that at the last meeting. I wanted to go from 80 to 60 because I think Karen had talked about the administrative side. It was the 20s were easier to administer because people tend to come in with cash, correct? So.
But when they do.
Yeah. So that would be my suggestion is we change it to the 50. the height requirement, I'm comfortable with that from a safety standpoint. I don't know how council feels, but whatever modifications we make, this is only first read, and I definitely suggest we go through 3 full reads on this, because we may have more input come in along the way as well. But I lean, when it comes to safety, I lean toward Wayne's opinion on that. And I know what I'm seeing go down past my street. And I did catch a woman on the highway, rolled down my window and told her she could not be in the highway with her golf cart. So she flipped me off, and I said, well, that's fine. I'm going to call the chief of police right now. So she zipped back the opposite direction. And I think we need more of that type of, maybe you can deputize all of us to stop that nonsense. I'm kidding.
Going along.
We need a little humor here, but go ahead, Bill.
Going along with, Karen's comment about, having to make changes and stuff, I go lower, I'd do it more like a $60 fee. And I'd also entertain, like what Rich said, for a business that's got over a certain number of carts, maybe just leaving that at the $40 fee, because that's what they're paying right now for a rental. Or if you wanted to raise it, but I like the fact that you're doing it in $20 increments, just like you say, Karen says, people come walking in, and we're not a bank, so we shouldn't have to make change.
But that was a motion, I would second that.
Discussion.
Yes, Bill, go ahead.
Well, the only thing that the problem I have as far as separate fee for businesses can pass this fee on. The individual can't. So, I mean, it's a cost of doing business. They can pass this on, to the end user. So it's not something that basically, they're necessarily stuck with.
Thursday.
What about the ADA user? I thought that was a fair point. Whether it's a business or an individual owner of the cart, we do have people who use carts for that very purpose.
Well, if they're using it for ADA purposes, they probably got their sticker with their car. And I'd say you gotta bring your sticker out of the car and put it with the golf cart if you're gonna go somewhere.
Well, currently our ordinance doesn't have anything different for someone who has an ADA compliant golf cart or is ADA and using the golf cart because they can't use a vehicle. But I guess I'm putting that question out there. And now I know how many vehicles are generally ADA, Wayne?
Well, I can give you an answer to that. Unless somebody is so capacity, they only have their own private van, which you don't see a ton of them. But I think what you're concerned with is what's like ADA compliant, and that's basically for parking privileges and that type of stuff.
Okay.
And you can go buy a car at most car lots, and it's not going to say ADA compliant car. It's all about hanging the tag in the window. I mean, that's what that all is, really.
Okay.
I guess to continue a conversation with Bill as far as the business discount. I understand that the businesses can pass that along to a consumer, but at a certain point, you sort of price yourself out of the market. A few years ago, I know there was discussion about the restaurant tax here in town and adding, a certain percentage of tax on that. And I think the feedback from those businesses was, you're starting to price us out of business. I mean, I don't know. I just think it's the businesses. I see the businesses as supporting our local economy, and I think we've, with the grant programs we did earlier this year, with the utility forgiveness programs that we did, and with the investment we've made in terms of promoting tourism and supporting the businesses. I think I guess I would like to see the support from this legislature.
Okay. From a fee standpoint, I would love to get Karen's take and Wayne's on if we're going to have the funds go. They've always been part of the general fund, which we can use for anything from a match on Stellar to emergency service to the clerk's budget, as it should be, because the deputy clerk is taking care of a lot of these issues. Wayne's department is taking care of a lot of these issues, but perhaps we should look at that money the same way we are with the fire department, Karen, where there's unspent fire funds going back into the fire department for purchase of future equipment. That unspent golf cart fees go back into the two departments that are managing the labor on this. And maybe we can get a better picture of what that looks like. And maybe, I guess what I'm suggesting is figuring out the percentage of that pool of money that's going toward our labor and administering and sticker, et cetera. You know, do we really know the actual cost? I do know that it's become much more painful on the police department than we anticipated 5 years ago.
Well, I knew 12 years ago this was going to blow up, but they kind of said it then, that is where do you be here? And I mean, kind of answer Rod's question. Yeah, we can go out and text people every day, but you know, we don't want to make people's life miserable. Because it's an expense for people.
Yeah, maybe the most egregious is what we're looking at. Also, I agree with Rich on the whole factor of being a friendly, tourist-friendly town. We don't want to issue 100 tickets in a weekend, you know, and not be that kind of friendly place to come enjoy the businesses and what we offer here.
But on the other hand, we do want them to obey the rules.
Yes.
And laws.
Right.
Yes.
I think there's a difference between, you know, if the sticker is not posted, so it's plain and obvious to give somebody a warning on that, but if you've got a 10-year-old kid driving the cart, I mean,
Right.
Yes.
that's not a gray area. You know, that's just flagrant abuse.
Yeah, or on the highway where they're not supposed to be, or one of the bike trails where many of them are, which is unfortunate, but that is happened. I've seen people on the bike trails, and that's only going to create a maintenance headache for us down the road, which is one reason I was suggesting that we earmark some of those funds for that reason.
Jenny, I'm gonna call a question.
Okay,
We can debate this all night if we don't.
well, it is a lot of changes in one draft.
I agree.
So,
Change to 60. And
what else is part of your motion, Bill?
for businesses, Rich, what do you want, say over 10 carts?
That's fine.
Businesses over 10 carts, their fee would be $40. What it currently is.
I'll second that motion to change the proposed ordinance.
Okay, hold on 1 minute, please. Are those the only changes you're recommending at this point in your
Yeah.
motion?
That's
Just the fees?
the plan.
Discussion?
Are you gonna allow any input?
I still think that
I'm asking for
that,
discussion.
60, the idea of saying, well, it's hard to make change. It's not that much harder to make change for 50 than it is 60. I don't think that's a very viable argument.
I agree, Sally.
And I
And-
think 60, you know, an extra $10 would help with, you know, some of the administration fees or time. And possibly some of that money should go into, you know, street pavement or something as well. Because they drive on the streets.
Any other discussion?
What is the question?
The motion is just to make the fee $60. Businesses that have over 10 carts, the fee would be $40. That's the only current change to this draft that Bill is motioning for.
It's just the businesses.
And the $60 would be individuals.
$60 is the fee.
Yeah, and Sally's discussion point is why not just make it 50?
And I don't have a problem leaving it at 40 for the businesses if they have over 10, 15 years.
Okay.
Mark.
If there's no further discussion, I'll allow Russ Mason to make a discussion point.
Thank you. In the last 2 meetings, I've heard fees go from $100 to $80 to $60 to $50. And the only close justification was what Bill brought up maybe for the police department. But again, I have trouble with that because if I'm a police officer and I'm operating down the street or sitting, watching for traffic violations, I don't think it's any different. If I see something weird with the golf cart, or if I see something improper with the car, it's the same. I don't see a difference there. But that's, he can argue that point, I guess. The thing about the businesses, now I'm not against the ringers. I think they are great people and run a great business. But once they rent that cart out, it's out on the street, it's doing the same thing I'm doing. So if there's an administrative cost for the police department, they're getting a break. Because that cart is a special case. It's now on the road just like mine, subject to the same kinds of supervision that the police have to give. But yet, there's a discount for that. That just doesn't. Things have to be reasonable. People have to understand that things make sense.
Thank you, Russ. And I do want to make a point that we, in the last couple of years, have tried very hard to add a 5th officer because of the sort of explosive growth we've had in tourism and just so many more people visiting town, lots of events, and that need for extra security and public safety. Now, have we run up against police officers leaving and coming and going, and then COVID and everything else, and we haven't been able to get to that 5th? But the revenue has to come from somewhere to pay that 5th officer. It's not going to come off of license plate tax. It's not going to come off of, the bottom line is we need that other officer. It's also why we looked at creating permit fees for events in the park, particularly for people who are having events that are not a nonprofit, who are making a profit off of that sort of activity. Lake Fest, that brings a lot of people to town, all our officers are working. So we often end up in overtime situations, and we have to be able to pay that 5th officer from somewhere. So for me, that was also part of this, is how are we going to cover that in our budget? And as we all know, this year, our budget is really tight. Labor is our biggest cost. Benefits are our biggest cost. So we have a task force studying the insurance situation between now and next year and try to figure out how to lower that cost. To me, this is one way to help pay for that 5th officer. So that was, for me, part of the justification. But I'm also comfortable with 50 at this point until we know better what percentage breakdown that is between our labor cost in the police department and in our clerk's office. But there is a motion on the floor. Is there any other discussion points among council members before calling for the vote? So the current motion that Bill would like is to change the individual registration fee to $60, $40 for businesses that have 10 carts or more. Rich, you've seconded that motion?
Right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nay? Okay, motion carries on first pass. So we'll have the second reading at our next meeting.
That was the first reading. That was just.
Oh, just, okay. Oh, I thought we had to go through 3 reads.
We do, but that was just.
Oh, just the ordinance, right. We still have to do the rate fee read.
We just haven't done the first reading yet.
What she's saying is your
Oh,
motion
just to
passed.
change the draft is what that motion is. Yeah, okay, thank you, Karen.
Here's the draft.
Yeah, good point, sorry.
And that has to come back to another first read, right?
Right.
Well, you can make it, you can pass it.
You
on
can
first
still
reading,
pass it on first read,
As
but
amended.
as a separate
Oh.
motion with the
Unless
amendment.
that was your motion.
I'm gonna write it right in here,
Yeah.
if that's okay.
Yeah, pass on a first read with the amendment.
And that was your motion, is to
Yes,
pass the
yes.
amendment on first reading as amended with the,
Right.
So the
Is
motion,
that what I heard?
that's not what I heard.
That wasn't what I heard.
this,
That's what they meant.
yeah, this should be a second.
Just make it again, I mean,
Just making a motion to pass on first read with the amendments as just previously
Make a
stated.
motion that we pass ordinance 2020-006 on first read with the amendment that the fee be changed to $60 and for individuals and $40 for businesses over 10 carts.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Bill.
All right,
Thank you, sir.
all in favor?
I
Nay.
understand what you're saying.
All in favor? Nay.
Aye.
Sally? Okay, did you get that?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Karen. Okay, so there's 2 nays on the first read, so it will have to go to a separate meeting for second read.
Right.
So we'll put on the agenda for the next meeting, okay? All right, so next I'm gonna assume that we need to do a separate motion so the ordinance regulating the use of animal-drawn vehicles within town limits is a separate one. And that one will not involve businesses of 10 or more unless you want it written that way as well. But do you all want to pass that one with the current amendments in it that Jonathan made and read?
Open a public hearing separately on that one, or was it considered part of the original?
I considered it part of the first one.
That's what I thought.
You covered both.
Yeah, I asked to cover both. Yeah.
The fee in that one is still written as $80, I believe, though, so.
Right, the horse-drawn carriage one is currently at $80.
And there is no provisions in there for commercial.
No. So do I have a motion to pass it, or do you want to make another amendment to the amendments?
I'll make a motion that we pass ordinance 2020, I guess that's 007.
008.
008, excuse me. As presented with the amendment that the fee be changed from $80 to $60.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nay?
Nay.
All right, so that one can also be on the agenda for next round. All right, thanks, you guys. Next on the agenda, we put the bond capacity study. This is something Mr. Culver and I had discussed. He wanted to put it on the agenda to look at, we had talked about during our budget meetings, the potential for needing a new town hall, well, et cetera. And we want to take a closer look at these projects in the coming year. We're moving into a planning phase again. And one of the topics related to all of that is what can we afford in terms of projects post the stellar implementation world, and what are our finances looking like. And Bill wanted to bring this up for discussion to talk about whether or not we should have somebody work with Karen, like Baker and Tilly, to look at if we were to issue a bond, what could we afford, and do a study of the finances. Bill, am I summarizing that properly? So that's why we put it on the agenda for discussion. Wanted to get some input from Karen, council. Bill, do you want to say any more about this? I feel like I'm speaking for you, but.
As we talked, and I've also spoken with Bill about this. Looking forward, we're going to have some projects coming up that probably we shouldn't be putting off a heck of a lot longer. One thing, an advantage is, as far as bonds are concerned, interest rates are historic lows, and they're probably going to continue to be that way for quite some time. But there are certain things that we might be looking at that might not be, lend itself to grants and so forth. And we can, everybody has kind of a wish list, and this isn't determining exactly what it is we want to do. It's just the basic fact is that if we were to issue general obligation bonds, how much can the town afford? In other words, how much debt service can we afford? And I don't think, I don't have that answer, and I think that's something that probably comes from a firm like Baker Tilly. And I would ask Jonathan to contact Baker Tilly and find out what they might charge for a feasibility study on this. That's my only comment, and I'll take any questions council members have, but I think it's something that we need to be looking at.
I think we want to generate that out of Karen's office though. Like put that, let Karen look into that, just as keeper of the books, if you will.
I support.
If that's okay with you.
I support getting the proposals for that from Baker Tilly.
I agree.
Okay. Do you want to make that in the form of a motion to support soliciting a proposal from one or more financial firms to do a study? Can someone make that motion, please?
I move that we go ahead and make the bond capacity study and engage Baker Tilly.
Would you like to get other quotes to see?
I'm sorry?
Would you like other quotes?
I would like
On the
other quotes,
cost?
yeah. And other quotes, Bill?
Yeah, have Karen solicit maybe multiple firms for
Right.
proposal
Right.
quotes.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, before I call for that vote, is that too general, Karen, or do you want more specifically what we're
Could
looking
you
for?
restate it, please, since it changed mid-motion?
Yeah, I think the motion is to authorize the clerk to solicit from multiple financial firms a proposal to do a bond capacity study for the town of Culver. Is that better? Is that okay for your
Yep.
motion, Mr.
Fine.
Clevenger? Okay, seconded by Rich.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Anything else on that subject matter? All right, next on the agenda, I think Jonathan has an update on the large employer utility debt relief program.
Yeah, so we had, I think 4 applicants. Julie and I reviewed these. We received an application from ACPI, Culver Educational Foundation, and the Culver Union Township Library and Culver Community School Corporation. The total amount that qualified from that 3-month period was $14,287.94. And I can read the individual amounts. ACPI was $4,413.76. Culver Education Foundation was $4,500, which was our maximum. The library was $874.18. And the school corporation was $4,500, again, our maximum.
Okay.
So we need to make sure we approve grants.
Yes.
Okay. Is that you, Sally?
Yeah.
Second from Sally. All in favor?
Aye.
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 I have to abstain because I'm for the library board.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. All right. Next, we have regional stellar plan update. My only update for that is that the next regional stellar committee meeting with the Crossroads team is going to be late October, early November. The next quarterly meeting with Okra is in November, although I'm guessing that will be December based on the fact that we don't have a date yet. some of those projects are submitted through application process, and I'll let Jonathan update you on ours.
Yeah, so our trail project, Bob and Karen and I did review proposals, and Troy Group was the highest score, so we'll ask them to present us with a proposed contract for design on that next phase of trail. And then I did have a conference call with Jerry White from Okra this past week about our park project, and I was kind of ready to get going and try and move forward with that, but he and I went over the calendar, and the schedule that as a county crossroads group we approved had us actually putting in our application not until next November. I was thinking it was a little earlier than that next year, so no rush on that one. And I got some of my technical questions answered. I think the biggest one was just from a income study perspective. They're basically saying that they approved all those Okra projects as a county project and that the county's income study would be valid. So that makes our life a little easier for our project. So
That's awesome.
yep, that's all I have on
That's
regional
good.
Stellar.
Stellar plan update before I have Jonathan give you that. I wanted to let you know I had Karen print, I think it's phase 2 of the trail. The engineer sent a cover sheet because they're uploading to NDOT our paperwork, and not only do the council members need to sign that, but so do you, Jonathan, just so you know, it's in the book. Kevin, did you have something? I'm sorry.
Yeah, on the regional stellar, I think it's good to get it out in those meetings about the OOR program, the owner-occupied rehabilitation. And that's going to be, there's going to be a meeting in Culver on that on the 23rd. Jenny stepped up and said she could do it since I'm on that committee and wasn't able that time. Basically, you get your applications off the county website. It's probably, we're looking at in the range of $20,000 to $20,000 that can go to each individual homes. We're looking at people that would need roofs, furnaces, things like that. So if you know somebody that falls into that, they need to get that application and look it over, see if it applies to them, and then try and schedule to be at that meeting on the 23rd for here. There are some requirements of what you have to bring as far as identification, proof of ownership, those type of things. So those are things you need to plan ahead of time. And if you can't be at the meeting in Culver, it's okay to go to any of the other meetings around the county, and all that's on that website also. So I just think that needs to get out as much as possible. So,
Yeah, it's also on the town Facebook page. Did we put it on the town website as well? I know
That
it's
was
on
on Facebook and Town Cannon Lake, and the hard copy applications are at Town Hall if anybody wants to pick one up ahead of time and fill it out. And again, Kevin, our date and time in Culver or Jen?
it's on the 23rd, and I believe it's from 10 to noon.
Yes, it is. It's on my calendar.
And if you can't make that one, as you said, I think there's a Saturday one in Plymouth and the
Yeah.
following Saturday too, which should be pretty convenient. for people, so.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that reminder. I was happy to get on my calendar, but then we should be promoting it more, yes. All right, back to you, Jonathan.
To the Stellar plan, and actually I'll give it back to Kevin again here. I asked him to give us an update on the paddocks. I know the first apartment building, which is kind of in the northwest corner there, should be ready for folks to start moving in soon. So Kevin sent me a few pictures, and I'll let him kind of give the update as I flip through them here.
Yeah, the first apartment building does have a certificate of occupancy. I'm struggling right now getting refrigerators. Really, just recently, COVID has kind of caught up with us, and it's more a supply issue than anything. So there's several things that we're not able to get materials on, and a lot of the material prices have really gone up. Picture on the left that Jonathan has up is one of the interiors of the apartments with the, you can kind of see the doors, the shades going in, the flooring similar to what was at Sand Hill. The picture on the right is of the streetscapes going in, and that's the latest townhome that we're working on. That's at the far end of Cavalier Drive. So that's the one that's held up right now because we can't get siding. So we're hoping to get siding in this week and get it started going again. The picture on the left is the community building. We are kind of pushing it towards the end, but that will have the laundry, a community gathering space, the offices for rental and leasing. That's kind of in the middle of the site, faces on Cavalier Drive. Picture on the right shows that we're paved. So the parking lots are paved, striped, ready to go. What else do we have up there, Jonathan? The one on the left, we did some amenity upgrades. You can kind of see the doors are 2-panel doors. We went with a barn door style on some of the openings to just kind of dress it up. The original plans called for pocket doors. On the right, you can see where the Cardinal has started the seeding process. So they are getting ready to start down that path. They have planted the trees out there, so all the trees are in place. They are doing the seeding on the south side of the street at this point, but we're going to hold off on the other side because we're still running forklifts around, and as we bring in appliances and other things, we don't want to mess up what's being done. But the goal is to get that major work done by the end of this month so that they can go ahead and seed the rest of it and keep going. We had a little bit of a hiccup on the certificate occupancy because of the drainage plan, and it's one of those things that's a little bit screwy. It doesn't go as smooth as it ought to, but they eventually agreed that even though I'm getting a certificate occupancy for one building, I don't have to have the complete drainage plan finished, finalized for all 7 buildings. So, you know, they still hold the other CFOs over me, so it's not an issue. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about tonight was, since the major trucking is done out there, I'm looking at installing the sign that we had talked about going into Island out at the front. And I know I said that at the last minute.
No, I didn't get that in here, sorry.
Okay.
I've seen it before, but.
Really hasn't changed. It's going to be the gabions, the rock-filled gabions as the base for it, and then the Sandhill logo goes in there. I've given you a letter on that, or that we will maintain that and do the mowing and any landscaping and anything that goes on there will be part of the development's cost as it goes forward. The other thing that I wanted to touch base with you guys on, I've talked to Karen, I've talked to the management on this. I've been watching the buses come in and pick up kids at Sandhill Farm. And positive, we got a bunch of kids living there. We are doing what we intended to do. We're getting kids in the schools. I'm expecting more of the same with the paddocks, but I don't have a bus turnaround there. After some discussion, I talked to Karen a little bit about this, Karen Schumann on this. I would like to consider putting a bus stop at the end of Sandhill, kind of at the corner where Sandhill Boulevard comes in and Sandhill Cavalier turns off. There's actually a finger of my property that goes down there, so it wouldn't have to be on right of way, but it's not going to meet any kind of zoning standards for setbacks or anything else. I realize I probably need to go get a variance to do this. There's not really a good way of even asking you to give me right away to do it on. So what I wanted to throw out there for you guys to think about that and see if you would support that as a variance to allow that. I think it makes sense not just for the kids for school, but I know after talking to now I can't say it. Russ, who does the busing? Council on Aging. I know at Council on Aging, they have a lot of trouble with picking people up that they go to the door, they're not there, they don't do scheduled, so they're trying to get into a bus stop situation in some of the other places in town, excuse me, in the county. This would be able to be used for that too. I know already I have some people that are elderly that are looking at some of the places. They would probably qualify for some of the income stuff. This would also give a place for the Council on Aging to do their pickup, making it a little bit more convenient for their drivers and just overall scheduling to say that, you know, if we got 2 or 3 of them, we're going to pick you up at this spot at this time. If you're not there, we're gone. So any input on that? Do you guys agree that it's a good idea? Do you see it as a problem? I just wanted to get some general feedback on that.
I think anything that would make kids or elderly safer to be picked up and transported is a positive thing. That's my gut reaction.
I agree with that too, but would you be surprised and very drawing or?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. And I will have to do that to go to the BZA.
First.
So I'm just starting this process.
Right.
So I wanted to get, I talked to Karen about it to make sure that if the school wasn't going to support it, it wasn't going to work. That was my first stop. Got you guys, I'll get you a picture of what we're talking about.
I think you got support.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Okay.
you can see this, what it looks like.
Okay.
All right.
Any questions on anything? Yes.
More applications on paddocks, right?
Paddocks there's still about 15 on the rental pool. I've only got 2 units that I can actually rent, even though I've got a CFO for 8, because I don't have refrigerators in the other 6. But I was just emailing back and forth with them tonight, so we're trying to figure out what we can do to make that happen. I've got to have a certain size, and I've got to have, because of the green situation, I've got to have the Energy Star, and they're not out there.
Kevin,
So-
if somebody does want to submit an application, where's the easiest place for them to find one?
For the paddocks,
Yes.
go to Bradley Company's site. And anything you send to me at the Sandhill Development site, I forward that on to Bradley too. But it's Alonda Jenkins at Bradley's doing that leasing. It is a whole process. Jonathan's seen this. It's like, we like to say, it's not a sliding scale on the ramp, it's a spreadsheet because there's so many variables that go into it. So Bradley's done this on multiple properties. They handle all the garden courts, they handle the garden court in Culver, so they know what they're doing. So that's what needs to be talked to.
What's the occupancy on Sandhill?
I've got, I believe, 7 2-bedroom units still available. Everything else is filled.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yep.
Back to you, Jonathan.
Yeah, the only other stellar updates I had was just, I think this is the first meeting we've had since our ribbon cutting, so thanks to everyone that came out for those, and especially thanks to Rich and Amber for all your work on this building here. And that on our trail, Lakes Max Trail Phase 2, RW South is one of our subcontractors on the project, and they sent letters to the 10 parcel owners on South Main and Davis Streets, letting them know that the town may want to purchase right-of-way property from them for that project. That's all I have.
All right. We'll move on to town manager's report.
On utilities, on the South Main and Davis Street stormwater project, we are expecting to get a change order from E&B at some point for the stormwater project. There was a conflict with our sewer line near the intersection that required an additional structure and a change in pipe size. Bob and I have met with E&B, HRP, and Midwestern Engineering once on it. I'm still working to resolve it. And other than that, just a thank you to the residents in that area for their continued patience. We think about 2 more weeks of storm sewer work, and then they'll be ready to hopefully come in and start cleaning up, replacing sidewalks, and doing the paving.
John, for the record,
Yeah.
on that project, the additional supervision that we approved, I mean, just for the record, you want to get that and hear what's happening.
Yeah, again, after the boil order, Bob had the idea of, it's something we talked about as a possibility early on. The intersection at Main Street and Davis is, there's just a lot of different infrastructure coming through there. And that was our biggest point of concern, and that is where the break occurred. So after that, we decided, and really I give Bob credit, better safe than sorry, to go ahead and bring in Midwestern Engineer to have a construction inspector on site during the worst sections of it. And so he's been here a few days. Now they're actually south of there to where they're in a pretty clear area, and we sent them home for a couple days. But there will be one more section that they need to do kind of near that, again, Davis and Main intersection. So we'll have them back again for a few more days. But again, we were thinking about 10 work days total, and I think we're right on target for that. So thank you all for your support of that. I do think, that was something we wanted to do really try and make sure, do everything we could to make sure we didn't have another boil order townwide. So I think that was helpful in that regard. The Community Crossings Matching Grant Program is open for applications right now. One of the requirements is a financial support letter from the council president agreeing to make our 25% match if awarded. I put in the letter just our total paving budget for next year, which is $122,000. In my report, I gave you the full list of which projects we'd be applying for, and I'd ask for a motion to authorize the council president to sign that funding letter.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We had a resident at 525 Forest Place request that we waive $18.04 sprinkler charge, the minimum charge for a sprinkler meter this past month. We had a manhole replacement project near her house, and apparently one of the subcontractors connected to her outside water without her permission or knowledge, and she incurred that fee. So I would ask that we waive that for her. We looked at Julie and I looked at the usage, and I think that was the only one she had for the month. So I'd request that we waive the $18.04 utility fee for 525 Forest Place.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
What's the, what was the subcontractor who did that?
It was a fencing subcontractor, I believe. So the name I don't know off the top of my head.
Working for the town or someone else?
Subbed out, yeah, it was. So we had a contract with someone else and they were working for that contractor.
That's just wrong. It's unethical.
Bill.
I'm just thinking we need to document the name of the company so we don't do business with them again. That's just
I can
wrong.
let you know, yeah, I
Unethical.
don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, thanks.
I had a request from Karen Schuman, the school superintendent. Council passed ordinance 2020-005 earlier this year that changed the parking and traffic regulations on Lakeshore Drive so they could add a second drop-off area. We included some handicap parking spaces at her request, but I think now that she's seen how it's actually working there, it's actually created more confusion than it's helped. And they have handicap parking at the front, and I believe in their parking lot as well. So she's asking that we would edit that ordinance and remove the handicap portion of it. If council's okay with that, I would put it on the agenda for next meeting to make that revision.
That makes sense.
That's all I have for utilities.
Okay.
And Ken and Amber will have some items in their reports, and then again, Amber might cover, but just to note that the park survey is on our Facebook page. Hard copies of that are available at Town Hall as well, and we'll be taking those for the next few weeks. I think since we posted online, last time I looked, we've had like 220 responses already, so
Wow.
that's been great.
Wow.
I believe that's all I have.
All right. We'll go on to department head reports. EMS, Jeff, are you on the phone tonight? Don't think so. Doesn't look like it, right? Okay. Fire department is Ken on.
There it is.
Oh, hey,
Hide in the
Ken.
back.
Sorry I didn't see you behind your face covering.
A couple things for tonight. One, our big beautiful truck is fit in the station. So we're moving forward on getting it outfitted, hose, all that stuff to purchase for it and get that going. We are going to, we've scheduled an open house for October 26th, 2 weeks from yesterday at 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Please come down and see it. Observe the social distancing. Come down and see that truck. It's beautiful. We've got a bucket of shirts and hats we're going to give away and stuff like that. We're inviting all of you, town, anybody, come down and see it.
What was the time again?
6 to 7.
Okay.
At 7 o'clock, we're going to draw our second gun rifle ticket. So find your local fireman for those as well. For that truck, We looked at some options of marking the street, walked out with Bob, and the best thing we come up with is not the best thing, but actually the best thing. From TCS, hire them to come in and professionally mark the street, the approach, and inside the building. That truck is so long, and it needs to come out of that building correctly and turn correctly. If we hand mark the street, it's gonna go away. So we looked at different ways. I think the best way, TCS is traffic, whatever specialist. This is what they do. We're looking at almost $3,300. That's a lot of money to spend, but we feel that this needs to be done right. So we're asking if you can approve. I talked to Karen. We're okay on funds for this and the other item we have tonight. So we're asking if you could approve that and get that done.
Is it
Bob,
3,268.90? Is that the right number, Ken?
What was it, Ken?
if y'all don't have copies, I sent him. I have plenty of copies if you want to see it.
No, just how much?
Oh, 3268.90.
You want a motion?
Sure.
I move that we approve the request of the fire department for the lane marking.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you for that. On the other one, I don't know if Jonathan forwarded to you, we're at the fourth quarter, looking at our budget and things we still need for this truck. Got Karen, we're okay with these. The truck committee came to me with things that they feel that we need to go ahead and get for this truck. If anybody wants to see it, I have copies there from hard suction to sleeve trays to record clips, yellow straps, quick mount chainsaw, axes, just all kinds of stuff, 100-foot hose strap, pressurized water extinguisher, Stokes mounting plates, all the stuff that we're going to need to get this truck set up right. And that totaled $37,39.35. Once again, check with Karen, we're okay. If we can get your approval to go ahead with one of those.
I make a motion that we approve the additional expenditures for the fire department.
Did you say that was 37.39
$37,39.35.
and 35 cents? Okay, so 3,739.
And then the last thing that came up in discussion.
Wait. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all for that. Some people say y'all are hard to deal with.
Just what I was making.
I should have waited until the service. No, the third thing is we talked about gear a couple months ago. Our gear expires the end of the first quarter in 2021. So Terry had put in a $40,000 budget that you all approved, 10 grand last year, 10 grand this year, in the next 2 years. The problem is our gear is going to expire in the first quarter next year. So we looked into purchasing, I got Karen, they have some options, but we don't want to do a financing thing. So what Jonathan and Karen and us decided is, why don't we wait until 2021 and purchase that? We'll have 20, and then the other funds are already there, and purchase that, right when our gear is. No need to forward money to get gear early. But now we're finding the process time for gear because of COVID is growing. So the question is, can we get with our vendor? We already have our approved price of $24.68 per outfit. Can we get with our vendor, have him come down, measure, order, and invoice in 2021? Is that legal? Is that doable?
Does he just need the purchase order filled out for this year so he can encumber this year's?
I'm afraid if we wait until January and order, they're gonna say, okay, you're 7 months out.
Yeah.
So, want to go along with the thing that Terry sent up and use that not to exceed $40,000. That would give us 16 sets of gear. Everybody would get measured, everybody get new gear, and get that rolling for next year.
If they could submit their purchase order though in this calendar year, you can encumber your funds that were budgeted from this year and then add next year's budgeted funds. So, but you want that purchase order before the end of the calendar year to be in
So
to
I
do
need to get
that.
that for him for our 16 sets of gears. not exceed $40,000.
Let's, yeah, but you only have $20,000 between this year and next year.
Right. Now, do we only have that to spend, or, okay, so we can only spend 20,000? Okay, we can't spend, okay, I misunderstood that. So we can maybe order half, replace the worst part here. Okay. I'll get that put together. Other than that, say come down October 26th, or anytime you want to see that truck, you may call me and text, come down and look at it. It's really amazing.
All right, thank you, Ken.
So, we did get 2 applications for our cadet program. So we interviewed them last night in the officers meeting. We made them introduce them young guys, make them introduce themselves in the department head meeting, put them on the spotlight. And so we've got 2 of them moving forward with that. We decided we're going to go ahead and drug test and background check and all that, just like everybody else. It'd be good for those teenagers to, to go through that process.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll get some more interviews.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
All right, next we have the police department with Wayne. All right, thank you, Wayne. Park department, Amber.
First, I just wanted to thank you guys for pushing through the outdoor movie funds quickly and so that we could do that event. It was actually a really big success. I was pleasantly surprised by how many people showed up. It went really well. It was a perfect night, so thank you very much. Next, I just have a quote from Seller Services. This, I don't know if anyone's noticed, but the shoreline down by the boat slips has become very overgrown. I guess we used to do treatment on it annually, and we haven't in the past 2 years. So to sort of keep up with that, I got a quote for the shoreline treatment. They quoted me out for $1,949. We had asked it as long as they could keep it under 2,000, which kept us in line with our lawn and maintenance budget. So I just need approval for that.
Council?
It's budgeted in here.
Yeah, we used to do it annually, and then we just kind of, I wasn't aware of it when I started, so it stopped. It just kind of got incredibly outgrown. So that includes the trimming of the new shrubs that started growing. I mean, you can hardly see the lake at this point. It's gotten way overgrown, so yeah.
Actually, I think it's been longer than that, Amber. I think last couple of years,
Yeah.
either 3 or 4, honestly. But it was a previous annual thing that Sellers did for us, and it's just something. I think we did some seeding one year instead of it, and maybe something else. So it kind of dropped off for a couple of years, and then we just haven't done it.
And then we won't have very many other lawn and maintenance fees, with the winter coming for this year. And then we just requested, as long as it was under 2,000, we could fit it within our lawn and maintenance budget for this year.
Okay. I make a motion to approve that
1949.
1949 for Sellers to treat the weeds.
I second.
All in favor? Aye.
And then the last item I had was, so I've been very loosely working with an event for Halloween, just kind of in preparation in case, just with COVID going on. I know some similar towns have promoted it, and that's the trunk or treat. We had been working on getting that implemented here at the park that night. Basically, the idea is just having cars lined up who aren't comfortable handing out candy from their own homes, and then that way kids can kind of come through. And our main concern was obviously COVID guidelines. So we had discussed not having anyone receiving the candy person to person. So just vetting it out and letting kids kind of pick it up at however they would like. It's been a process at the event. So we were initially working on it. However, Jonathan and I have talked, and he requested that they submit a special event permit. So you'll be hearing about it next meeting, which is close to Halloween, obviously. I think it's the 27th is the next meeting. So I just wanted to at least like put it out there so you guys were aware that it was coming. Because then if we get that approval, it will be a quick turnaround. So just to expect a special event form.
Okay. All right, thank you, Amber. Boards and commission reports. Is anyone from? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, utilities, Bob. Bob, are you on the phone?
I am here.
Hey, happy belated birthday from your town council.
Thank you very much. Only thing I have is our backhoe. We have received that, and we thank you for that purchase.
Great. All right, thank you, Bob.
That's all. All right, thank you.
Plan Commission. Anyone from Plan Commission reporting tonight? Or BZA? All right, let's go to the Redevelopment Commission.
Our meeting is Monday at 5 p.m. the 19th.
Anything else, Rich?
Nope, I think that's it.
All right. Anyone reporting from the Tree Commission? I don't think I see, oh, I don't recognize the one number.
They are doing removals right now through town. Hooters Tree Service implement this here working, so.
Great. Thanks, Jonathan. Clerk's report?
I have several invoices over $1,500 for your approval. Two are actually for Miller Insurance. One is for $1,639, and that's for the workman's comp audit. The other one is for $1,921, and that is for insurance for the new fire truck. There was a sidewalk project on South Street that we reimbursed for $2,566.75. Then Wyland Humphrey, Pleasant River, and Cerisi, $8,952.95 for legal fees. And Weir's International, $2,535.67 for EMS repairs, which I think you were made aware of, but this just officially approves it.
Motion to approve the claims over 1,500.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I want to keep talking and keep this mess going. The last thing I have is just that I've placed the required advertisement for additional appropriations, and it should be in the Citizen on Thursday, and the public hearing is scheduled for November 10th. I believe off the top of my head, it's $333,000 for the general fund, and then I think $50,000 for MVH. So that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you, Karen. Attorney's report?
Yes, I only have really two things. Culver versus Simmons, et al. Russell, 709 Obispo, have a review hearing tomorrow. I checked with Jonathan today and not much is going on. So we got a Zoom hearing tomorrow at 11 o'clock, and I presume they're supposed to tell us either they're remodeling or tearing it down and give us a timeline, or we might get an order from the judge to, do whatever we want to do. And then the other item is the 415 Lakeshore is scheduled for sheriff's sale on November 24th, 1 p.m. So that's progressing along. Anybody has any questions about any of those? Feel free to.
Jim, did Chuck DeWitt get an invite to the one tomorrow too? You sent that.
I did not send it to him. I guess I should have. I didn't think about it. I will tomorrow.
Okay.
Do you have the Zoom information?
It was.
Didn't I send that to you?
You got it on your town email, Bill, today, this afternoon, probably.
Okay. Probably wait this.
I knew someone else was copied. I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Copied Bill, but didn't copy Chuck. There you go.
Maybe Bill will be kind enough to forward it. All right, thank you, Jim. Is anyone here for utility shutoff or ordinance violation or online for that reason? All right, we'll move to citizen input. Let's start within the room. Any citizen input? Yes, Gary.
Question maybe for Wayne. I think we touched on it a couple of times on that golf cart, and I don't want to be the dead horse here, but does the town council, does the police department advise golf cart owners to start putting those flashing lights on their golf carts? Because I don't think anybody has them, unless you consider hazard lights the same.
Well, here's the dilemma, if I tell you not to, I'll be telling you about the statute. But I tell you, I'm worried about it, because when I have my performance, so in our opinion, the same thing.
Right. And maybe for clarification, is there possible reasoning behind that, that speed limits that golf carts could be, the roadways that they could be driving on could exceed the 20 or 25 miles an hour, and so you would want flashing lights? Because in the town, your town speed limit is 20 or 25.
Oh, wait, there's a lot of them go faster than 25.
Sure, but for other cars coming up on you, if they're in a 45-mile zone and you're a 20-mile-an-hour golf cart, I could understand why you might want flashing lights.
Yeah.
But in town, you're only able to do 20 miles an hour anyway.
It's for safety purposes. My purpose is after dark. That's critical. Flashing light or tail light. If you have nothing, you're going over.
Exactly. So you're not saying you need to start going to ringers, sorry, to get flashing lights.
It's the existing state statute. It's the existing state
Yeah,
statute.
I can't tell you. I don't stat.
And the other question I have, and this will probably kick in the can down the road again, is 205 Akron, which may be on the same concept as 709 Obispo, or 704, whatever it was.
709.
Does that ring a bell, 205 Akron?
I think I know which one it is, yeah.
It's the Munster House. I mean, you can't get any more dilapidated than that.
I have one or two that are higher on the list than that one, but I mean, I think our thought is when this 709 is cleared one way or the other, whether it's us demolishing it or, you know, that when that one moves forward, then we move on to the next one on the list. I mean, I think 2 or 3 at a time is about all we can realistically move forward, but that one's definitely on a list of about a dozen that I have, so.
Thank you.
Any other citizen input in the room? Yes.
Just a quick clarification, my question on signage is not referring to the actual slow-moving vehicle triangle sign. The state rules are very clear on how those are to be placed. My question was referring to the actual registration tag, and if that has to also be located on the rear of the vehicle. I don't know if it could be clarified in the ordinance so that we make sure that we're placing it in the correct position. But they are located everywhere on different golf carts.
Yes, I've always put that in the ordinance.
Yeah, I think it says the rear.
Just the rear, okay.
Yeah, we can verify that before second read though, just to be sure, but I think it said rear.
It says rear portion.
Any other citizen input in the room? Okay. Is there any citizen input on the phone line tonight?
This is Jeff Mansfield, 222 Lakeview.
Hi, Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, in the town park, the west end of the park, there's a couple of the lights that aren't working. Was wondering and it's pretty dark down there at night. Is there any, I don't know what the issue was, or if someone can look at it and see what it's going to take to repair those lights?
October 29th.
Did you hear that, Jeff?
Yes, I did. Great.
I think many phone calls have been made already, but yes, hopefully.
We're hoping, I've been bugging them forever. It's been approved, it's been mapped out, it's meant to be fixed. It's just, we're waiting on the company. Last I spoke with them October 29th, so I'm crossing my fingers we can get it in by then.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Jeff. Anyone else on the phone line that has citizen input? Council issues. Mr. Githens, any council issues?
Yes, I would like to, at this time, Karen, if you stand up, please, introduce Karen Lawrence on behalf of Town Library. Aaron is our new director. She comes to us from St. Joe Public Library System in South Bend, 3 years experience. She started yesterday and she got baptism by fire by going to the county council meeting for our upcoming bond issue. So, like everyone to meet Aaron, feel free to stop by the library, introduce yourself. We're very happy to have her.
Congratulations. You survived a county council meeting and a town council meeting and haven't run away yet, so welcome to Culver.
I told her she might be here.
Sally, any council issues?
I don't have any.
All right. Rich, council issues?
Nope.
Mr. Clevenger,
No.
council issues? All right. I think Jonathan's been working on the contract with Cheryl Morphew. I think we're getting close to being able to email out a set of dates for that. Do you have any other further updates from Chamber? Or I think they've approved of, at least I got a text that they're approving.
Oh, okay, no, I hadn't heard. I presented a little bit on it a week ago Monday, and then they were gonna have a follow-up meeting, I think, today, but I did not hear back. So.
Yeah, so I got a text from one of the Chamber officers that said they've approved helping to pay that contract. So Jonathan can work out with Cheryl some dates to put out to the people invited. And then I wanted to find out if you guys would be comfortable with the work session on the ethics stuff for the first meeting in November or the second meeting in November, somewhere in that time frame. Now, I know the second meeting in November is butting up against Thanksgiving. It's the Tuesday, I think, of Thanksgiving week. Or we could go the first meeting in December. Any of those dates sound good to you for a work session?
How long would it take him?
I'm thinking an hour and a half tops.
You're talking.
Schedule like a 5 o'clock. But I'm kind of hoping that Jim can be on that, where we can work out the agenda with Jim ahead of time. So I want to make sure it's or what if Jim and I look at his dates, and we get back to the council and Karen on advertising and maybe aim toward early November?
Yeah.
So we'll get that figure that date out between now and next meeting, perhaps. Any other council issues or anything more from Karen, Jonathan, or Jim?
I was just gonna say that proposal, since we've had feedback from council and redevelopment, lots of folks, she did lower the fee. We're still kind of working out all the exact details, but I was pretty happy that she offered to do that as we kind of revised down exactly what we wanted to do. So.
Yeah, great. All right, motion to adjourn to claims.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, hey, Bill, I meant to show you this in each of the council members.
Oh.